What's up, guys? Much of what I'm about to review on this channel is going to be from a company called Ironheart. No, not to be mistaken with the unfortunate new show on Disney Plus. This is clothes for men. Awesome men. Like me. And maybe you. So this vid is an intro to the company and should serve as a quick guide for noobs. Admittedly, I'm still very much a noob myself, but have learned quite a bit to this point and thought it might be helpful to start this series with a sort of guide. If you guys think I've missed anything, please say something in the comments below. I'm probably just going to be skimming the surface here of a whole world because I still have much to learn. Now, the eagle-eyed among you may notice this really nice jacket that I have on. Of course you'd notice it. It looks amazing on camera. Or perhaps you just read the thumbnail. I'll have that part of my video chapter marked so you can skip right to it if you like. That is, if you think you know everything there is to know about Ironheart. With that said, let's get into it.
In the beginning.
So it all begins with this guy named Shinichi Hiraki. You see, he worked as a pattern maker for a company called Edwin in Japan. He later became a designer, then worked his way up to being a producer and director for that company. So 20 years goes by and Hiraki decided to start his own company. Not just copying and pasting what he did at Edwin, mind you. You see, Hiraki-san was deeply involved in motorcycles. So his idea was to make heavyweight denim and more durable fabrics that catered to the Japanese motorcycling community. So Works Incorporated was established, and with that, the Ironheart brand in 2002. A couple of years later, in 2005, Giles Padmore was appointed by Hiraki to manage all international sales, marketing, and distribution outside of Japan. Giles' son Alex took over ownership in 2021, and now you're basically up to date. So, over-engineered heavyweight materials originally made for bikers is basically at the core of this company. Ironheart certainly isn't cheap. You know the old saying, you get what you pay for? Yeah, that definitely applies here. My experience with their stuff is it's incredibly well made out of very high quality materials. From a stylistic standpoint, they tend not to follow any fast fashion trends. This is great since you're spending all that extra cash, you'll want it to look just as good in 10 years as it does now. But I gotta tell you, with most of their stuff, it actually won't, because it'll look even better. That was kind of cheesy, but it's true. When you check out their webpage, you'll quickly discover the sheer number of offerings. It's not just denim, it's bags, military homages, accessories, footwear, and yeah, a buttload of denim too. It's here you'll probably realize that this is a very forward-thinking company. So as you see here, every item on their shop has a link to its own individual thread in their forum. If you decide to join the forum, consider yourself part of the Ironheart army, because that's an actual thing, by the way. Much of what you see probably won't be in stock. They have an ambitious factory in Japan that is always churning out the next release, but in many cases, those get bought up rather quickly, just by experience. If you want something and it's not in stock, you're going to want to get on their mailing list, better yet, join their forum and check it obsessively. Sometimes they'll actually list stores around the world under stockists that may have them in stock. You may get lucky there too. The forum isn't just for patrons either. There are threads about cars, watches, vacations, tea, even wild mushrooms. You'll inevitably meet a lot of really cool people here too. Ironheart employees will engage with you on a regular basis. Even the owner pops in to help answer questions or just shoot the shit once in a while. The forum really is amazing in the way it compels you to be a part of things while enabling you to keep an eye on that next bit of kit. I don't think a day goes by where I don't check the first 15 or so unread topics. In doing this, apart from being thoroughly entertained, I've actually learned quite a bit. Now, not everyone who purchases from Ironheart rides a motorcycle, myself included.
Not technically though, because I did have a motorcycle when I was 15. It was a Yamaha YSR 50cc that I sort of knew how to drive. Except for that one time I took a corner too fast on Junewood. I lost control and slammed into a tree.
My point is, even if you ride motorcycles, you don't spend all your time on a bike with your arms out. So this may apply to you. Because Ironheart is notorious for making their shirts and jackets with really long arms. So while buying, you should definitely pay attention to sleeve length. But barring that, there are a couple tricks that I've picked up along the way. All right, so folding the cuffs. This may seem totally obvious, but a lot of their shirts, the cuff itself could actually be folded in half, sort of like I have here on my 33 OD. Just make sure you unsnap the very top snap should you have one of their Western shirts. It Just makes it a little less bulky. I think it looks good. I'll show you. All right, so this is a little awkward. I'm standing on a chair and I've got low ceilings down here, but here they are, nicely folded. And as you can see, the length looks good. When I unfold them, it's just a tad too long. So folding them, it gets rid of about 1.5 inches, which works in this case. Your mileage may vary, but there you have it. Arm creases make a difference. As you wear your shirt or jacket, you'll eventually develop these arm creases, which will shorten up the sleeves a bit. If you're impatient like me and just want to start that shorter sleeve life sooner, grab a spray bottle, fill it with water, just regular water, and spritz the opposite end of the elbow with the water. Here, I'm going to do it now. Make sure you don't get your laptop or microphone or electronics or lights. This is a bad idea. Anyways, you get the idea. So now leave it on as it dries and make sure you bend your arms. And it works really well. Once it's dry, the creases are set and you've got shorter sleeves. It's pretty cool. Now, speaking of creases, your shirt or jacket may come with ones that you don't necessarily want, you know, from being folded in a box and shipped to you. Get rid of these by washing, ironing, or what I do is I actually steam them with this little portable steamer I bought from Costco. If the crease is really stubborn and won't come out after the first try, you can actually turn your garment inside out and steam the other side. And that'll usually do it. So Ironheart shirts generally have two different cuts. There's work and there's Western. So work are akin to your standard button-down shirts. As you can see here, we've got 2 chest pockets with button closures. And over here, you've got a pen slot. So you could put your Care Bears pen in there. And that's the spot for that. You could also, I guess if you had really thin fingers, you could keep a snack in there, but probably not. Actually, maybe you could put a Slim Jim. That could be your Slim Jim pocket. Can actually confirm the Slim Jim pocket.
Snap into a Slim Jim.
So turning it around, we've got straight back yokes. And about the fit, so the work line, they generally fit wider around the torso, and they're a little boxier, which gives you room to work in, hence the name. So the Western line scraps the buttons and pen slot for actual snaps that are really nice to work with. And then we've also got Western style front and back yokes, as well as flap down pockets. So also I wanted to mention this over here. This is not a mistake. It's not an error. It's intended to be here. It's chain stitch runoff. So they use very old chain stitch sewing machines, and it's on both sides of the garment. And they actually also have it on the work line shirts as well. You can see here in orange on both sides as well. So make sure you don't cut them or I will get angry with you. Back to the Western. The fit here is quite a bit closer to the body. It's more svelte and it's also slimmer around the arms. If you order directly from Ironheart, please consider pimping out these snaps because they've got some really cool options, and I wish someone would have let me know this when I ordered this one, but that's fine. Something to look forward to next time. Oh, I should also mention that this shirt that I'm wearing now it looks like it's Western, and it is, but it is not a Western shirt. It's a CPO, and of course we'll get into that later on in the video. So about measurements. The first thing that I ever bought from this company shipped with this free measuring tape. Now, they could have packed in stickers, pamphlets, even a chocolate bar, but they deliberately decided to pack in that measuring tape. looking back, this makes total sense. So if you scroll down and click on Size Guide, you're going to get a table that is customized not only to that particular piece, but that exact run of that particular piece. So each garment is handmade, and each time they manufacture a run, the dimensions actually change. Basically, you guys need to pay very close attention to each individual item's size guide. None of that, well, I'm an American men's medium, so that's what I'll order. That won't fly here. Even if you have a size large in an Ironheart shirt, for example, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a large in the next one. Another thing to keep in mind here is that they measure differently than other companies. Not to worry, they actually have video guides on how they measure so you can follow along. The best practice here is to take a similar shirt, pair of pants, or jacket that you like the fit of and already own and measure their way. Then compare against measurements on that size guide. But keep in mind that this may just be your actual starting point. You see, the measurements on said size guide is an average of all the pieces that they meticulously measure. Remember, this is all handmade, and you got to expect variances within each size. This sounds like a lot because it is, really. But you can use this to your advantage. All right, let's say I fit closest to a size large in a modified type 3 jacket, but the shoulders are definitely a bit smaller on their size guide than what I want. I like my shoulders to measure about 18 inches from seam to seam, but measuring them the Ironheart way makes my preferred measurement 18.5. So I open up a chat bubble on their webpage, speak to a guy called Freeman and say, hey man, can you find me one with 18.5 inch shoulders? He comes back a little bit later and yeah, here it is, and here are the other measurements. Boom, ordered, and it's shipped to my house within 2 to 3 business days from England, because that's how they roll. Now, get someone from a large retail chain to measure a garment for you. I don't think it'll be that easy. I digress. So, assuming you have a good grasp on your preferred measurements and they have lots in stock to sort through, you get your fit very dialed in without ever having to leave the comfort of your own laptop. Now, don't necessarily just pay attention to only one measurement. I did this and it totally backfired. But all was not lost. For just 35 to 45 Canadian dollars, it cost me to ship back to England. These guys have an awesome return policy and are really amazing to deal with. Pretty much S tier as far as my experience has gone each time. Now, if you live in a big city, chances are you'll have a few shops that actually stock Ironheart. This is great if you have no clue what your measurements are and just want to try on and find out. I bought my first pair of Ironheart jeans this way. They have a lot of different models and fits in their jeans, most of which don't at all fit me right, and one in particular that does. So effing nicely. That's another vid though. My point here is ordering direct from Ironheart is amazing, but sometimes there's just no substitution for a good brick and mortar. All right, on to the part you probably already skipped to, the SEXICPOOD. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and explain that nickname right now. So here is the full SKU of this shacket that I'm wearing. It is the love child of both Ironheart and a chain of American stores called Self-Edge. So SE stands for Self-Edge, X stands for collaboration, IH stands for Ironheart, of course. 25 does not stand for the year 2025, but instead it stands for Self-Edge's 25th collaboration. So CPO stands for Chief Petty Officer, which is the type of garment that this is. And OD simply stands for overdyed, which is the process that this denim goes through to make it darker. Put all of that together with some creative license and we get the SEXICPOOD. How you doing? All right, sorry for the interruption. This is me editing the video and realizing that you can't really buy this CPO anymore. It was completely sold out probably minutes after they opened orders over at Self-Edge. So it's kind of an awkward situation here, but what you have to understand is this was a very limited edition run and they're gone now, but don't worry, there's alternatives that you could get that aren't exactly the same, but just as well made, and I will leave them in a link below the like button. So back to the video. The CPO was initially created for the US Navy in the 1930s and then used throughout World War II. It was a practical warm shirt with a pocket or two. Now, because so much of our great stuff harkens back to military roots, this was later adopted by civilians and then became sort of a fashion staple. They're also still a thing almost 100 years later. Now, while this specific CPO doesn't have a lot in common with the original 1930s model, I'm willing to bet had they had these around, they'd be like, yeah, I want one of those instead. And I don't want to fight in a war. I just want to hang out with my denim, because it's awesome. So there are two main things that differentiate a CPO from a regular shirt in Ironheart's lineup: the inclusion of hand warmer pockets and the copper snaps throughout. They're also a bit longer, so maybe 2.5 things. So about the hand warmer pockets, there's something that you don't expect you'd use at first, but end up absolutely loving once you get used to them. I find them more comfortable than resting my hands inside my jeans, and hey, extra pockets is a good thing. They literally add no bulk to your shirt silhouette and almost completely disappear when you don't use them. Unfortunately, they don't have interior pockets like some of Ironheart's other offerings, but having said that, I still find the chest and hand warmer pockets to be really useful. While we're on the subject of pockets, let's do my pocket phone test. This is a iPhone 16 Pro Max with a case. It's got the wallet on the back, makes it a little thicker. There's no way it's going to fit in the chest pocket. Hang on. I'll still try for science. And fail. But that's fine. I don't think anyone would put a phone there. All right. And look at that. Actually fits perfectly in the hand warmer pocket, and it's not coming out. So that's a pass. So the copper snaps are an absolute pleasure both on the eyes and to interact with. They're a proper throwback to vintage Levi's buttons, and as you can see, they're larger and much easier to use, and just a big upgrade from Ironheart's standard snaps. Again, remember to pimp those out if you can. So the denim itself is 19 ounces and took 5 years to develop. It's said to draw inspiration from all of Ironheart's other stuff, from their 14 ounce all the way up to their 25 ounce denim. It's got a lot of texture to it, and while not stiff, it still manages to feel like armor, which is really nice. So that new 19 ounce denim isn't the only thing that differentiates this self-edge collab. If you look closely at this pocket, you'll see a charcoal gray sideways W stitched in there, and also a matching charcoal gray Ironheart logo. The one thing that just really got me was that charcoal sideways W logo on the pocket. Ironheart doesn't normally put a W logo on their CPOs, but there it is. If you're wondering what that W stands for, it's Works Inc., which is the entity that designs and makes Ironheart. I also really appreciate that they color matched the sewed-in Ironheart logo, which is normally yellow and stands out quite a bit. Not this time. Someone casually glancing at this shirt probably won't notice either of these logos, but when you really look, there they are. It's just stealthy attention to detail. These are aspects that people obsessively hoe and hum over with nice high-end watches, and I totally dig that. It's really cool.
So when I initially received my SEXYCPOOD, and because I'm a total nerd, I immediately grabbed my measuring tape to see what I was dealing with. I know that size charts are more of a guide and are not exactly specific to the measurements you end up getting. But in my case, it's precisely what I got, which was freaking awesome. I'm almost positive they sent me the actual size large that they measured. My guess is that was because I asked for 18-inch shoulders in the notes and ordered almost immediately after it went live, which ended up being earlier than they said it was going to be. As you could see, I was pretty excited for this piece. That was for good reason. As I mentioned before, the denim itself has an awesome raised texture and feel to it. More dense and heavier than I expected. Definitely more on the jacket end as opposed to the shirt side of shacket. So this overdye comes across quite a bit lighter than the standard stuff like my 33 OD. This tracks because they're using a different process that's supposed to be more environmentally friendly now. So initially I was expecting it to be really similar to the 33 OD, but it's not at all. It's a completely different beast. I've actually never had or even seen denim like this, which is pretty cool.
So now what we're going to do is the WAF factor. So for this metric, we rate it from 1 to 10, and WAF stands for Wife Acceptance Factor. So 1 being the worst, 10 being the best, what would you rate it?
Oh, I would say about a 8 to an 8.5. 8.5.
Solid 8.5?
Yeah.
All right, solid 8.5. There you have
Just
it.
the shirt, not the shorts.
These are my easy shorts, but that's fine. It's very hot out, and that's what we wear.
So congrats to Self-Edge and Ironheart on a stunning collab. My feeling is this CPO will become legendary.
So between the near perfect fit, incredible quality, and stealthy details, this is definitely one of my favorites. But you guys will have to wait for an extended review. You see, I got this right at the beginning of summer, and it is just way too hot to wear anything but shorts and a t-shirt lately. Maybe a vest, but that's another video. And on that note, I got a lot planned here, so make sure you leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. From a stylistic standpoint, they tend not to follow any From a stylistic standpoint, they tend not to follow any fashion trend, and that is what I call a... Yes, that was a good take. Why aren't you stopping? Stop recording, please.